I would love to come back and manage. I would love to
Yeah.
come back and like talk shit for somebody, maybe like announce or something, come in and do a spot here and there. I just did Wrestle Kane and I like beat the shit out of Karen Jarrett. That was fun.
Women's Wrestling Talk, the #1 women's wrestling show.
Welcome everyone to Women's Wrestling Talk, the #1 women's wrestling show on the planet. Of course, I'm here, your host and senior writer of Women's Wrestling Talk, Nikki Bougie. And oh my God, I am fangirling to the max, to the mountains right now. A legend within her own right. Honestly, what can you really say? One of the biggest heels on Twitter, as quoted by her dear friend Giovanna a couple months ago. Of course, a former Playboy centerfold, a TV host, and of course, a wrestler in her own right. Oh my goodness. Reby Hardy. I cannot believe I just said that. How are you doing today?
I can't believe it either. You know, this is the first wrestling podcast I've ever done that's not a friend of mine, like that I know personally. And even those are few and far between. I think I've just done, speaking of, Giovanna's podcast, and that's it. So
yeah, you were the first guest on Wives of Wrestling. Actually, the first guest. So, well, I am honored. We are honored here at Women's Wrestling Talk. So let's get right on into it. We want to do, you know, like a quick icebreaker. So we're going to ask you just a few little basic questions, you know. So right now, what song do you have on repeat?
The song that talks about killing your ex. Is it Kill Bill?
SZA.
Yeah.
Okay. Nice. So give me some of your favorite artists of all time.
Gosh, I'd say Muse, Beatles, Twin Temple, Queen, a lot of old school stuff.
Nice. What would you say is your best vacation destination?
Puerto Rico.
Perfect. When you were growing up, who was your celebrity crush?
Oh, gosh, I would say like very basic, like Leonardo DiCaprio or something.
Okay, that's a good one.
Well, one of the boys from NSYNC. I don't know.
Listen, now we know your favorite holiday is Halloween, and of course your favorite month is October.
Yes.
What has been your favorite Halloween costume of all time?
Hello. My favorite Halloween costume was probably the first year that we had a baby, and we dressed up as the baby Hubert from Addams Family and Morticia. Matt, he's supposed to be watching this baby here while I could get 5 minutes. And okay.
Listen, it's funny that you bring the Gothic baby in here, because Gothic baby has been in the news and in the tabloids and honestly one of the biggest searches in the UK. What has that been like to because we all know, listen, we love it. No, we love it.
This man is supposed to be watching this baby.
How have you dealt with that? Because we know you live for the drama. So at some point you learn new techniques in dealing with it. So how has it been having Gothic baby all over the UK spreads and what's that like?
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, how Gothic Baby had even started in the first place was like a troll response to people, you know, exaggerating the fact that she had like a neutral, darker colored nursery. So I just took that and sort of threw it back in everybody's face and ran with it. So that's how that whole series even started. So the fact that my troll response to people trying to troll me is now like super viral worldwide. I mean, even I was just searching for a picture of her to use in a TikTok coming up, and I looked on Google and I just typed in, oh, Gothic Baby, let me see if it comes up with this picture. All the articles that I had never even seen that had come out just this week, like Daily Mail and The Sun and The Mirror, and I'm like, what? The New York Post, and I'm just like, wow, this I'm forever the least popular person in this family, which, you know, I'm totally fine.
Well, it's funny you say that, because I would actually disagree. I have an employee that I work with, and I was telling her that I was going to be able to sit down with you, and I thought that she would know you by Matt Hardy, and it wasn't that way. When I told her who you were, she was like, oh my God, I'm obsessed with her. You have really become an internet sensation. You post so many different reels constantly every day. Your videography is just amazing. What really goes into the behind scenes of your creativity, and plus a day in the life of Gothic Baby? Like we're dying to know.
Thank you. Yeah,
You're
my
welcome.
whole life I've sort of been like a content creator, I guess before that was even a thing, just constantly vlogging. And when I was, little with my big ass VHS camera sort of thing. So I'm just so used to documenting my life and doing little skits and stuff. And I feel like Matt has kind of always done that too. He was sort of ahead of his time before that was sort of popular on the internet, doing those kinds of things. So it really works out like that, just sort of constant content creation. The Gothic Baby series is really just me following her around. She's literally a baby, so I can't like direct her. So it's really just footage that I have of her that I'm already shooting as, a crazy mom. And I'm just cutting it together and adding my own voiceovers. We do a lot of batch content days because, I've got 4 kids. We homeschool. I've got a shoot job. I do, rest of my content creation and a whole bunch of other stuff that I've got going on. So I've got to kind of do it all in one day. It feels a bit like a fashion show or a dance recital where you're constantly changing clothes. Okay, we're gonna do this, and then on to the next number. Okay, jazz hands. So it's very much like that, so that I can get that kind of stuff out of the way and go back to just being like a regular, boring schedule mom.
Oh, well, listen, you're an amazing mom of 4. And what really intrigues me the most is your creativity. Your mind is just so crazy with the designs that you have. The Hardy tree that we saw recently, we just saw you do the tea party. I mean, everything is just so magnificent. What's your inspiration for being so creative?
Thank you so much. It was cool when I was active in wrestling and actively sort of updating Matt's website and super involved in like creating and contributing to the broken stuff. And after that finished, I felt like that part of my life was sort of over, because I didn't really have, no one's really interested in my stuff, I feel like. So I didn't really have an outlet to like channel that creativity in. So it's cool that now I get to put that into things like Gothic Baby and just sort of everyday life at this point. I like making little montages and memories and stuff like that. And it's cool because it's not just content for the world. It's also a nice thing to look back on. And I have like a video diary pretty much of like
Yeah.
my babies growing up. And, it comes up on something like Facebook memories. And you look back and I'm like, wow, I remember this video and think, I'm so glad that I document everything and that I make these stupid little videos because they're really like a treat to look back on. And I'm glad that I do them.
Yes, we are too. We love them. I'm obsessed. I stalk your page every day. I go on there and see what you have because it's you do it in a way that is so different. And I don't think you realize that there's really no one in your lane and in your field of what you're doing. To people who, like myself, are obsessed with Halloween. I have such an addiction to thrillers and, just
Oh, nice.
so much. Yes, I love it. Like, so for me, it's like you're in wrestling, but then you have a horror side, and there's so many people you have no idea that follow you and really connect with you on a totally different level.
I'm surprised to hear it, really, and
No.
I'm so grateful. Like that's amazing. A lot of times I'm like, oh, I'm about to put something up, and I'm like, oh, this is so niche. Like, who's gonna give a shit, right? Except for me. But so it's cool.
No.
It's cool. It's awesome. Thank you.
It's amazing to have. Now, of course, this is Women's Wrestling Talk, so we gotta talk wrestling. You've had a long career in yourself, getting in the ring with people like Rosemary, Velvet Sky, Mickey James. What was always your inspiration in even becoming a wrestler?
It's funny because my style of wrestling when I was active was very much sort of the antithesis of this, but I was super inspired by like China. Just sort of, I don't know, I just really related. Like a sort of a goth look, and I was a tomboy growing up, so I was just really drawn to that. And it's funny because I sort of ended up after the whole Playboy thing and everything's, just being like a booty shaking wrestling kind of style girl, so totally not anything like that. It would have been great, but that's just never how it worked out.
Yeah,
that's sort of what I was always drawn to.
When you would go into your matches, what would be your preparation? I mean, obviously, you physical, but were there any special techniques or any things that you did that made you feel like, okay, win or loss, I'm going to have a great match?
Yeah, I grew up as a performer in the performing arts, in acting and drama and dance. So I sort of saw every match as a performance. And I was very self-aware. Like I said before, I didn't think I was out here innovating any sort of new wrestling breakthroughs. It just, I kind of knew my role in wrestling and what it was, and I played, and I had a good time doing that.
Speaking of
roles, a lot of people forget too, is like, I was only active for a very short period of time, and I had just started. But, by the time I sort of got my bearings and started getting somewhat decent, I started getting pregnant every 5 seconds. So, it's a little bit frustrating when people look back and they judge my work, but it's like, bro, this was like my first year of fucking training. Like, what was your first year of doing anything like? If I'd have stuck with it, I feel like it really could have been something, because I really did love it. I loved performing, and I loved the business, and I loved the whole scene. I loved the vibe, but just that didn't work out for me. Everybody that I've wrestled on the indies or back when I was active has ended up going on to sign with a major company. Sometimes I look back and I'm like, what would have happened? But I wouldn't change it for a while. I think it worked out just fine.
And that's a great way, honestly, a great way to look at it. Now, you speak of roles, and I don't think you get enough credit for your talking skills. When you got on the mic, you were very solidified in what you were talking about, building your character and really being substantial on the mic. Did you have was there anyone that helped you with that? Or was that just something natural? Or was that with your performance background? What made you such a great talker behind the scenes and in the ring?
Thank you. I would say I'm a great talker, but I love to talk shit. I live to talk shit. That makes me happy. Some people are afraid of confrontation. Like, I live for it. So that was sort of like perfect for me. Now, I would have trouble in wrestling when I would be given a script or, an outline, obviously, a story that makes sense. But some people, some agents would want word for word. You have to say this and you have to say it like this. And that would always trip me up. And then I would feel like, oh, this isn't going to sound natural. And is this how I would say it? And it doesn't flow. So I would have sort of a problem with that sometimes. And I feel robotic and awkward. I'm not sure if that would translate on camera, but I love that kind of thing because I love confrontation and I love fighting people.
That's a good point. Now, speaking of confrontation, you also speak of the business as well. You've been around the business for a really long time. Who would you say, or where would you say was the hardest place to be a part of? Like, what promotion? Or was there any people that you ran into that just kind of gave you a hard time?
A lot of people gave me a hard time, but it was very passive aggressive. I feel like the wrestling industry, and I'm sure if you've interviewed anybody else, I'm sure they would all say the same thing. It's very much like the high school scene, like very, very cliquey, very like a hierarchy for what, for why, for what fucking reason. Hurting people sort of because they've been hurt, so they want to perpetuate it because I had to go through it. Now you do too, even though the times have changed and the climates have changed. And I always had a problem with that. Obviously, I'm going to be nice and cordial and respectful to everybody in the locker room and everywhere that I go. But when people automatically come with like this air of like, kiss my feet because, I know this person or because I've been in it 5 minutes longer than you, that's where I always had an issue. And there was a lot of that sort of under the surface. Nobody ever really came out and said it directly except for one person. And that was someone that I literally got into a fist fight with and almost died. But it's just sort of how it is. Unfortunately, it's very like a mean girl atmosphere. Now, not everybody, but enough that I think back and it's not always fondly.
Okay. I mean, listen. That's a funny observation because it's so true. Even in the world of wrestling media, sometimes it can be like that as well. So, what was your mindset? Did you have the same mindset in different promotions, even just working with Matt? Or was there a different setup when you were here or there? Let's say, versus TNA or being with Matt while he was, doing other promotions? Was there a different mindset, or did you always go into like, I'm that bitch if you fuck with me, or was it, or did you kind of play the game differently?
Totally different mindset. When I was ever working with Matt on the same show as Matt, mixed tag with Matt, I almost feel like I transformed into a completely different person because I was very well aware of people's perceptions of me, people assuming that I was literally only there because of him. I feel like a lot of people in their minds, especially wrestling fans, I get this a lot, like, oh, you'd be nothing without Matt. Like, as if, he was driving down the road and he saw me walking, with raggedy shorts and my belongings in a bag on a stick, sort of. that's how I feel like a lot of people see me. So whenever I would be on a show with him, I would tone it the fuck down because I don't want to bring drama to him. I don't want people who already are going in with a preconceived notion of me to look at me, oh, this bitch, who does she think she is, kind of thing. Now, when I get in the ring, it's a different story, baby. But I was always super, super subdued, almost like, please, I don't even exist. Don't look at me. Now, when I'm on my own and I would do shows by myself, and before I met him, completely different story. But I was very aware of, what people think of me and what people think of guys bringing, their not even wives at the time, girlfriends at the time to shows and that sort of thing.
Was there anything when you would go to a show? Was there like, what was the craziest thing that you saw just going to a show?
Shit, my whole fucking thing is crazy. I don't even know. I mean, we've seen, like, it's crazy. He has his own documentary now about all this fuckery, that Teddy Hart thing. Plenty of crazy things with him and bringing cats to shows and drugging the cats. And I'm like, what the fuck is this, bro? Like, you know these people? Like, this is your boy? Like, these are your people? Like, what the hell is this? Just, fights and people fighting over dudes and just, like I said, very much like high school stuff. It was a lot of that. And, as with anything else, most people, you kind of grow out of it. So I feel like that's why there was no dragging me kicking and screaming out of the wrestling business at that point. Because you can only take kind of so much of that until you're like, you either join in on the fuckery or you're like, bro, I'm done. I'm over it. Like, it's too much. It's too much. It's always something.
It's always something. Now, going back to your earlier days in wrestling, was there anyone that just stood out that you would say, like, damn, that was like one of my toughest opponents that I've ever gotten to the ring with?
Yes. Melina, like, I feel like I was passed out after her match with her. Bro, she scared me so hard. Was it a TV taping? I was doing a show for like MTV. It was very short-lived. It was like Lucha Libre USA or something. And it was either we toured like house shows and stuff, believe it or not, and we also did. I might have been a house show. She speared me so hard, bro. I thought I broke a rib. I was gonna die. So that was rough, and I'm fine with getting rough. I feel like it's just when people take advantage of you is the problem. But that was kind of the only match where I was like, God damn, Jacqueline was my first match on TV. She was rough as hell, but again, in a good way. Way. There was no one that I ever had a problem with in that way. There was one. Let me stop because she's no. There was one. Let me just say where there was one person who got booked on a show, and she told me she only got booked on the show because she was in love with Matt, and she had no gear. And she messed up every spot in the match. And then after the match, I was like, girl, what the fuck? And if I'm out here telling you, girl, what the fuck, it's bad. So she started crying and she was like, oh my God, I really wanted to be here because I really wanted to like meet Matt and I wanted to wrestle you because you're like Matt's girl. And I was like, oh, girl, like what the fuck is this? So that was probably the craziest thing, honestly. But other than that, it's par for the course.
That is hilarious on a whole nother level. I can only imagine. Now, besides those women that you just named, who would you say was like your favorite to get in the ring with?
I loved working with Velvet Sky. I feel like we had really similar styles. She was kind of like me, and like she knew who she was. She knew what the fuck she was doing. She wasn't trying to be what she wasn't. And just real sassy, real beautiful, real bitchy. Like that's my type of bitch. I love her. Like we had a lot of fun.
And you won the match. Knockouts, knockdown 2. You get you get the big win over Velvet Sky. That was amazing. And the before that, when you were in the back, just your talking skills was so like superb in that. I absolutely love that.
I was that day.
Of course, the big question I feel like that everyone wants to know: would you ever come back in the ring?
Yeah, I would love to. Maybe if you asked me like 5 years ago, it would be a different story. I'm just, when I was competing, I was like 120 pounds. Yeah. I was, super great shape. Obviously now I am not. The way that I was trained was to be like a flippity floppity booty girl. You know what I mean? If I were to get back in the ring now, there's no way that I could be that at this point. I would almost have to retrain every bit of wrestling that I ever learned, do a different style, learn to base, which I never really had to do. So it's just not really like logistically possible. That, and like if I get hurt now, like the whole family will fall apart. And I can't take that risk. So yeah, I would love to come back and manage. I would love to come back and like talk shit for somebody, maybe like announce or something, come in and do a spot here and there. I just did WrestleCade and I like beat the shit out of Karen Jarrett. That was fun. That was one of the
That definitely was fun. Very, very interesting. We did not get to see that on TV, but we definitely heard about that. And I'm so upset that I missed that because you say you like bitchy people, and that's one of the biggest bitches in the game, honestly. So funny. In a perfect world, though, let's say you made your debut, well, your return back to wrestling. Who are 3 people that you would love to go toe to toe with in the ring?
I am the worst. I was actually scared about coming on here, and part of the reason, I said you were like the first podcast that I've ever really done. Part of that is I don't keep up with wrestling, even. Like with Matt, he'll tell me right before he goes on, he'll say, I'm about to be on. I will turn it on. The bell rings and I turn that shit off. I don't enjoy it the way I did when I was like young or whatever. So I honestly could not name anybody in this. I don't know who's where. I don't know anything. I will say a person that I always had really great matches with and really good chemistry with was Jessica Havoc. I would love to work with her again if I ever did come back. We had a really great chemistry, really good dynamic. I was just talking about her on because of her TikTok, but she was with Bray Wyatt. What is I can't I'm so bad with names.
She's Alexa Bliss?
Yes. I think she's really cool.
Yeah.
And I don't really know anybody else. Honestly, I don't know anybody else.
And that's fine because it's changed so much over the mold. Who would you say, like, even in your time, who was that one person that you were like, damn, I wish I had a long rivalry with, it can be anyone past or present as well.
I feel like me and Rosemary could have gone somewhere. And it was on its way, honestly. We had a lot more to do in the match. Like the final deletion in TNA, and the morning of Bound for Glory, I wake up, I felt like shit. And I was like, you know what? At that point, I was just traveling with pregnancy tests. And I took a test. I was pregnant. I found out that morning that I was pregnant. We were supposed to do so much more in that match and ended up having to change the whole match, like change it for the boys, change it for us.
Yeah.
And, that was going to go on to be something else. And I feel like that could have really gone somewhere cool. So that would have been, I was looking forward to that, but, that never happened.
Who knows? Maybe we might get a return back to Impact Wrestling. Rosemary is the current Knockouts Tag Team Champion with with Havoc, actually, and they're in a team. Yeah, they're in a team with Ty Valkyrie, the current AAA Rainbow Range champion. So
wow,
a lot. So who knows? Anything is possible. I'm gonna name just a couple people, and you just give me one word.
Okay.
So no one's off limits. It's gonna be anyone from anywhere.
Now I am long-winded. I'm gonna have a problem with one word, but I'm gonna give
that's fine. You can give one paragraph if you would like. Okay. The game that we play is just one word. Right, but listen, we have, if you go back and watch some of the people that have played this game, You trust me. I'm gonna start off with the name Dixie Carter.
God, this is hard. I love Dixie. I'm gonna say sweetheart. Controversial opinion, unpopular opinion. I love Dixie.
Do you and do you because you have a good relationship with Dixie Carter, and it seems like other people do too. However, it seems like, do you think it's more fan driven, or do you think that it's more people in the actual business that give her that?
It's hard. I feel like she might. Now, I don't know. My experience is very different, but people that I am close with have really big problems with her, really don't like her. So I feel like, and this is my, maybe the case for everybody. People are different with different people. I feel like she might have very different ways of acting and treating people with different people. I never had any issue with her. To this day we keep in touch, and I love her a lot. But I have close friends who are like, she fucked me over. She's a piece of shit. She's a fucking weak. You know what I mean? So it's weird. I don't know, but I never had any problem with it.
And that's a good way to look at it, because that's how I am. My relationship with someone may not be the same as someone else, even if it is, like you said, controversial. Eric Bischoff.
This is hard. This one word shit is not my thing, bro. Okay.
Listen, we can change it to
he a weasel.
Weasel?
Yeah.
Okay. That's fair.
He's a shit talker. He's a shit talker.
Yeah.
But then, to your face, he'll be very like cordial and cool or whatever. And like, I don't like that. If you don't like me, and if you're gonna talk shit about me, and you're gonna talk shit about my man, then talk shit, then don't come up to me and like, oh hi, how are you? Like, fuck, look me in the face with disgust when you see me. If that's how you're gonna talk, you know what I mean? I have a problem with that.
Yeah, no, I like it. Mickie James.
Badass.
That's a good one.
She's cool. We had good matches. She's like a kind of take no shit, not overly friendly, but we, never had no problems. I thought she was really cool.
Yeah. You already mentioned Alexa Bliss, so let's talk about Jeff Jarrett.
This is impossible, bro. The one word, I'm sorry, baby. We gonna have to change the game.
Listen, let's change it. We changed it.
I mean, the whole that owl thing, the whole drama with the lawsuit, the copyrights, that was all stemmed from Jeff Jarrett. So we had obviously a very big problem. There was one point where I told him, it's on site when I see you. You or Karen. Fuck both of y'all. It's fine now.
Yeah, definitely.
He had actually called before WrestleCade, and he was like, look, I just want to talk before this. I want to make sure that we're good. He explained his reasoning behind it all. It was, whatever. I can respect it. If you're gonna come to me as a man, as a woman, whatever, be like, look, I was fucked up. This is my reason, whatever. And you're gonna stand 10 toes on it. And that's fine. I'm fine with that. At least he didn't come with the fake shit, like Eric Bischoff.
I feel it. Do you have any comments on AEW at all? Or I would rephrase that in saying, could we ever possibly just see you just make an appearance, even if it's just on the mic with Matt and Private Party? And do you follow the whole? Because let me just tell you, the work that Matt is doing, I know that he has a legendary career. This work that he's doing with the Private Party is over the moon. Version 1, Matt Hardy is my favorite by far. But this right here that he's doing with such a young talent like Isaiah Cassidy and Private Party and everyone is so magnificent to see. So I'm just curious, because we do see women in a dominating male faction. We have Judgment Day now with Rhea. We have Julia Hart, in AEW. So would you ever join that? With
I
Matt?
would never wrestle in AEW. The level of women's wrestling at AEW is way beyond probably where I was when I was actually active, and it's not even fathomable now at this stage in my life. Now, I would love to come on in a speaking role, but I feel like if that was going to happen, it would have already happened.
Okay.
And I don't want to like push myself. Matt has like everybody he's ever met and even like friends of him constantly asking for jobs. Oh,
Yeah.
can I manage you? Can I do this? Can I manage for this, whatever run? Like I don't ever want to be that person like, oh bro, get me on TV. Like, and everyone's gonna say, oh, she's only on TV because of Matt. I'm so past it. I don't need it. I
Yeah.
would love it, but I don't want it that bad that I'm willing to open myself up to even more criticism for nothing, for existing, for doing something that I, would enjoy. I'm good.
Mhm.
I'll stick to my own stupid TikTok and, I'll talk my talk there. I would love
Listen.
to though. And I love what he's doing with Private Party. This boy
Yes.
from New York. I was like, of course you're going to end up with a couple boys from New York. That's amazing. It's like, you just got it all over on all sides. You can't get away from us.
Yes. Speaking of can't get away, let's get away from the wrestling, because the TikTok and the Instagram and you making your reels, I personally make reels myself, and I don't really consider myself to be a digital creator, but I'm starting to learn. So for someone like me who makes reels and just tries to be more creative, what are some tips that you get with, one, being so consistent, and then just being able to, it's almost like when I watch her stuff, it feels like I'm just stepping into the screen. Like it feels so connected on a different level where it's like, oh my God, this is like a dream world.
Thank
So
you.
any tips for, creators out there?
You know what? I feel like you have to just be completely unabashedly yourself. You can't be embarrassed. I tell friends of mine this all the time who, are also in media and content, like, oh, what can I do? I want to do this, but I feel stupid. I'm like, if you feel stupid, then that means you're doing it right. I
Mm,
gave up on trying to be cool or trying to feel not, you got to be cringe. You got to be dumb. You got to embarrass yourself. Everything you do is content. Everything right now I could be making this content, you know what I mean? It depends on
yeah,
how you cut it and your perspective. It's people are there, and it's not like there's a lack of people looking for content, and it's at that point where things aren't even, they don't even have to be mass produced or amazing or immaculate, or it's 2 seconds of someone's life to scroll. You just got to get them enough to watch 20 seconds, whatever, just you
yeah,
just can't be afraid to make a fool of yourself, because one, I feel like that's what people want to see, especially people who don't feel like they could do that themselves.
yeah.
And then two, it's interesting. Everything about everybody's life is interesting, even the mundane. It's just how you present it. That's what I think. I don't know.
I'm like that. That's very well put, because nowadays we see content going up and up and up, but there's just something that catches that attention. And you've accomplished so much beyond social media, just with your gaming and in the ring and being a host and everything. What's some things that you haven't done that you would love to do in the near future?
Gosh, honestly, I feel like I have done everything that I wanted to. I know that sounds crazy, and
No, that's it.
it almost sounds morbid, because it's like, well, I can go now. I got my kids, I got my house, I'm good.
No, you couldn't do that because they would fall apart. Remember, you can't do that.
Facts. No, I mean, I would love to, and I say this timidly because it could be a disaster or it could be great. I would love to maybe do a reality show about the family dynamic and stuff around here. I feel like we've got such a weird carny family with so many different layers and characters. There's so many people in this family who have their own, platforms in their own rights. And,
Yes.
there's obviously Matt and Jeff, and then there's my crazy shit. And then there's, regular everyday drama. I feel like that could be really interesting. But at the same time, I also hear of reality TV completely ruining lives. Now, does it ruin lives for people who weren't ready for it, or, going into it, not realizing what it is? I think I realize what it would be. And I think it would be really fun. I think we could do something different and interesting.
That would be, honestly, like, I'm surprised that hasn't even been created or picked up by someone, because honestly,
Been very close numerous times, but somebody keeps messing up.
With that being said, do you dibble and dabble with any reality TV? Like, do you have any reality TV shows that you just like binge from time to time?
I wish.
Yeah,
I wish. I don't have time to watch TV. I wish I
there it
had
is.
more time.
Yeah,
I would love to though, because I used to love reality TV, but I just
yeah.
can't dedicate my time to nothing.
And that is very true, especially with your schedule. I could only imagine what is it like from the time, if you even sleep at this point, no. What is it like from on a day-to-day with you, especially with as much content as you create? How do you find that balance of just living and existing?
Yeah, there's some times where I just have to, even if I think, oh, this would make a really good piece of content, I have to put my phone down because my kids are watching and I don't want them to think that I'm ever prioritizing like looking at my phone, even if I do say, oh, I'm doing this like for work or this is for a video or whatever. Right. They're still young, they don't really get it, and I never want them to feel like, oh, the phone is more important than me. That would be horrible because honestly I feel like that myself sometimes with Matt, because Matt, he's not a content creator, but he's always on his goddamn phone fucking Googling himself, whatever the fucking is that he does. So I never want my kids to feel that way. So it is a balance, but it's just, it's a lot. All the kids have their own extracurricular activities. One's in guitar lessons, one's in jujitsu. We do the homeschool. I have to do my pinball business, content creation, travel, getting the house ready. We've got, sort of speaking of, knock on wood here, we've got some people coming to film, so I'm trying to get this fucking shithole together.
Listen, I saw your video today.
It's a lot, it's sort of every minute is accounted for, and then I also every now and then need like 20-30 minutes for myself, for friends, or to do something like this, or just sit in silence. So it's not stop, but it's great. I need something like that. I always say, man, I wish things would calm down, but if they did, I would be bored. That's just sort of, always multitasking, always doing something. I need to.
Yeah. I have a fun question, because I'm curious. How long does it take when you're doing a TikTok or a video with Matt? Like, does it take longer when you because like
Bobby, imagine like, trying to see if he's out here listening. He's gonna watch this whole thing because I'm sure he's gonna watch this twice. So I should just go ahead and say it. This man, imagine like a boomer. He's not a boomer, but sometimes he feels like a fucking boomer because he don't get it. And the man cannot lip sync. So we be doing TikToks and I'll say like, okay, you have to do it with this inflection. I'll play it 20 times and he'll say it wrong. And he's like, that's just not how I talk. And I'm like, oh my God, I want to die. It takes forever. Which is why like our stuff that we do together is like few and far between because bro, I get frustrated. Like we will straight up, like we will fight. I'll be like, what is wrong with you?
I tell you, I watch all of your stuff and I started to see him pop up a little more. And I was like, there's no way that he brings like.
He don't know TikTok. He don't know all of the sounds, anything that's trending. He don't know what the fuck it is. He don't get the context. At this point, I stopped trying to like explain things beforehand, and I'll just say, here, this is this. Repeat word after word. Do this. Have this face, and then I'll like explain it after because I just can't. Because then on top of it, he needs you to break down every little part. I don't know if that's just like a wrestling thing or a man thing or what, but.
Honestly, it's so good content. Like seeing him do it is because you're a pro, you're a professional, and so when you do it, you're even because I'm a communications major myself, and so when I hear your voiceovers, I'm like, yes, like yes, like this is what I love. But then when I see a video of Matt, I'm just like the time and preparation that she had to be the producer, and then like. The producer, the director,
I'm glad you see me. I'm glad I got somebody who feels me. I'm glad that you understand because.
Oh my God, I understand because there's no way I'm sure he adds to the pressure. I was like, there's no way that he makes this easier.
No, he does not. Oh my God, that's so funny.
It's so funny.
It's 100% true. Yes.
Oh my God. Well, thank you so much. It is such a pleasure to be able to speak to you. In my eyes and in many eyes, you are a legend in your own right. Your content is so amazing. And truly, I'm obsessed with Gothic, baby. So thank you for bringing her in today. Are there anything that you want to say?
Yes.
Oh,
she can't stand anybody having the spotlight but her.
She's the queen, baby. She's the queen. Any final words before we get out of here?
No, this was surprisingly fun, and I appreciate you having me on and like not being a dick to me. That's part of my fear of doing podcasts, that people will come in and put me on the spot and be really mean, because that did happen like the one time that I did a podcast and I was like, nah, never again.
No.
So this was cool. Thank you so much. I would just say, like, everybody, like, check out the TikTok at Reby Hardy, and stay tuned. There's some crazy stuff coming up, hopefully.
We will. And anytime you want to come back and hang out with us, we would love it. Of course, this is Women's Wrestling Talk, the #1 women's wrestling show on the planet.
I agree.
Women's Wrestling Talk, the #1 women's wrestling show on the planet. Women's Wrestling Talk, the #1 women's wrestling show on the planet.